So, greetings everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever part of the world you're currently listening to our video blog and podcasts. It's a nice Friday afternoon where I'm at, and I decided to go stretch my legs for a little bit. It's not so hot and terribly humid outside, so I figure I go for a quick walk and do my exercise. Okay, folks. With that said, I hope you all are doing well. Quite a bit of good things happening in terms of world affairs, and markets are starting to rebound. I've actually taken a break from my news consumption the last couple of days. I went from 120% of news consumption to maybe 50 the last couple of days due to some of the projects that I'm working on. But with that said, I'm glad that things are starting to look as if things are improving. So obviously there's this war in Ukraine still, and I don't know when exactly that situation will end. I hope soon, before the end of the year, because in all reality, folks, there really shouldn't even be a war. Okay, I don't think the Russians really wanted to prolong this conflict. But unfortunately, when you have some Western European quote-unquote leaders that never serve in their own country's military are trying to flex their muscles and tell the world that they're powerful and everything and anything to try to convince them that they matter and that they're powerful and they have authority, now all this garbage tends to manifest itself, and therefore it's gotten prolonged for no really good reason. Anyway, let me talk about something else, because I don't want to get on my soapbox again regarding this conflict, since I've got a quite significant amount of experience and background operating in Central and Eastern Europe, and I have a vested interest for that region to be successful and for the people in the region to be safe. But unfortunately, when these politicians that have never served in the military and are only really looking out for their interests to promote their names, saying that they're supporting a conflict and supporting Ukraine for no really good reason, and it will basically just continue to prolong this conflict. Okay, folks. But anyway, what I would like to talk about is how things are evolving in terms of the US market. As many of you are aware of, the Trump administration have been cracking down on a lot of these illegal immigrants and various criminal activities that's been happening not only in the country but in the capital in Washington D.C. They've actually started dismantling some of the organized crime institutions in Washington D.C. and making it safer and livable and peaceful, and that's starting to trickle down to other states and cities, communities throughout the country. So never in US history have any of this happened with any other administration. I see all these comments and stickers, whatever these are, I'll talk to you guys later after I manage to review whatever it is that you posted this time around. Okay, yeah, so you see a lot of stickers. Thanks for all these stickers that you took the time to post. Anyway, so things are improving in Washington, D.C. It's becoming more livable, safer, and people are actually being reprimanded nowadays. If you do stupid things, you get stupid rewards, which is a good thing. And never, like I said, never in U.S. history has an administration in the White House has done this kind of deep cleaning, deep house cleaning in the state capitol. All right, folks. So that's definitely an improvement, and that increases the potential for Washington, D.C. to do business and to manage our country more efficiently and effectively when they don't have to deal with stupid, unnecessary issues in the Capitol, because it's been prolonged by, you know, all these mayors' offices that have taken, you know, office, basically taken power in Washington, D.C. as a city, but never really, you know, done anything to improve the conditions there. Yeah, so anyway, that's a plus. And what I would like to talk about also is illegal immigration is at an all-time low, and our borders are safe. You know, people want to do business with us. They want to trade with the U.S. They want to invest in the U.S. They want to do business with Americans. So that's a plus. All right, folks. Yep, drain the swamp is what they're saying, and I think that's what's happening now. Is they're draining the swamp and making sure that the crocodiles, the frogs, and all the critters that have made America malfunction and inefficient is getting out of the quagmire that we've been into. So that's a good thing. They're definitely draining the swamp. So with that said, folks, thank you so much for all that you basically continue to do to support our quest to help improve America, to help improve the situation in our country, and also those of our friends abroad. Okay, we definitely want to support, you know, an efficient and working country, and we also want to partner up with countries overseas that are efficient. They abide by similar values that we have, even though our values right now, because of the past Democrat establishment, have been muddied and basically made very inefficient. So now it's time to return to somewhat of a normalcy, but it's still going to take a while before we're in 100% efficiency and operational level. And to be honest with you, I don't know if we're ever going to get to where we were before. America, unfortunately, is not in the best condition right now, even though we have a new administration, because there's a lot of unnecessary and unproductive stuff that they had to fix that was created by the previous administration. So instead of focusing on advancing, we're basically focusing on putting out the fires and fixing the damages and reversing policy that is way against our national interests. And on top of that, the funds that we've doled out around the world, it's going to be difficult to recover. So we need to focus in on recovering some of those funds so that our taxpayers can get some sort of relief, because everybody else around the world is getting a relief, but within the U.S., very few people, especially the ones that really need to get some relief, aren't getting a relief. Yeah, so that's something that I want to kind of talk to you guys about. Also, I got all sorts of texts and messages on my social media platform talking about this activity with ICE, and I guess they're asking for people to help them and give them ideas. And so I was like, well, if these illegals are connected with the low income, the undereducated community, then why don't you just go ahead and compensate those communities if they were to report illegal immigrant activities in their communities, instead of hiring additional ICE agents to basically arrest people because they need leads and they need to basically research those leads. Well, why don't you just go ahead and incentivize the communities that are connected to illegal immigration activities, so that it becomes more efficient, and most of the reports will be actionable, because majority of the time they know each other and they talk and they congregate and they do activities together. So why don't you just do that? Just incentivize the low income communities to basically support the ICE agency and the agents to help them find and reprimand and deport the illegal people in their communities. All right, so man, I get all these stickers. Thank you so much. Some of you are sending me great stickers, and some of you are sending me these wacky stickers, which I appreciate either way. I'm all about free speech. Okay, so that's what I do, and that's what I want to promote around the world: freedom of speech, because that will preserve democracies around the world. Anyway, so going back to the messages and texts that I've been getting. So there's a lot of ways to get people to and communities to participate. Matter of fact, ICE can create an app, a phone app, that will be easier for people to report and participate in the research and reprimanding and deportation of illegal immigrants. Okay, folks? Now, I'm not a heartless, cold person. All right, my parents came to the U.S. as immigrants. They came in as legal immigrants and waited almost a decade to enter the country, and they didn't even have a life that they thought they were going to be having in the U.S. They thought it'd be a nice, walk in the park. They'll be picking money off of trees, and the complete opposite horror and complete opposite nightmare ended up becoming their reality after they moved to the U.S. So, yeah, that's the reality of the immigrant, legal immigrant population. They're always the ones to get the last benefit for playing by the rules, okay? And everybody else that doesn't play by the rules basically gain all the benefits. So I guess to them, the Democrats, that's acceptable. They reprimand and not provide assistance to legal immigrants, and then protect, support, and encourage illegal immigration in the country. All right, folks, so that's just a totally whack job, in my opinion. But but there's still, Democrats out there that wants to do things the way that they've been doing things to gain votes and, basically make this country unlivable. All right, folks. Anyway, let me digress. I mean, there's quite a bit of stuff going on around the world and in the country. Like I said, I've taken some time off from the news. I didn't completely unplug, my news consumption. I just reduced it because I don't want to completely, divorce myself from knowing what's going on, because I also need to educate myself regularly, and I also need to provide my audience content on my podcast and my video blog and YouTube channel, you name it. So I need to keep up with what's going on, but I don't want to inundate people with too much news. I just want to give you guys a flavor of some of the things that I'm analyzing, and leave it at your discretion to see if it's something that you want to continue to research on your own, since our platform is the utilization of the social media environment in economic development. So we want to influence our audience with using their social media platform to increase their capacity, market capacity, and individual entrepreneurial capacity, and small, medium-sized business capacity. That's our main objective. And also give you guys a flavor of what it's like to live in the US and overseas. And my overall, somewhat of a lifestyle. I wouldn't really say a lifestyle, since everything that I do is pretty much structured. I think I'm the most boring person you'll probably come across, since everything I do is pretty structured in many ways. But that's my existence. But anyway, so let's see, what else can we talk about? In America, if you want to succeed, there is plenty of ways for you to succeed. The challenge here, though, is there are a lot of jealous haters out there. There's a lot of nefarious evildoers out there. I would say, just because of the size of the country, I would say there are more evildoers and jealous haters in America than in any other societies, just based off of our size. So many of these jealous, uninspired haters basically pound on the ones that they can never amount to, the ones that are making it, they're doing all the heavy lifting, and influencing the market, doing their best to push back against evil, hatred. So they get pounded on. Good people in America and good-hearted, people in America tend to get mowed down the most. Okay, and that's sad, in terms of how the revelation of our society, when good people, trustworthy people, and individuals that are looking to make this world and country a better place, basically are being mowed down and destroyed and making their lives miserable by haters and jealous people out there. Okay, and unfortunately that tends to be more prevalent in America than any other countries, which I think that's kind of interesting, to basically observe, because everywhere I travel around the world, people on social media, the influencers, and those that want to do good for society, whatever part of the world they're located, are blessed, they're loved, they're supported in those little tiny countries. But when it comes to influencers, YouTubers, bloggers, you name it, in the US, they get mowed down quite a bit by the haters and the jealous people out there that simply can't do anything else with their lives and they basically put out all their frustration. They take out their frustrations on those that are trying to do good in this world. That's just culture for us, I guess. Anyway, what's going on? Oh, sorry. I think my phone was under the sun and it kind of absorbed all the light. Anyhow, thanks for joining me. My name is Al Mina. I'm the concept author of Face Economics, the utilization of the social media platform in economic development. Thanks for taking the time to walk with me and, exercise a little. The weather's not quite that cold. I'm sweating right now. It's obviously still summer, but it's starting to improve at least. I hope by October it'll be easier for us to go on our daily walking routine. Although I don't know if I'll be in this area in the next few months. I still have several projects that I need to work in various towns and countries. So anyway, thanks for joining me. I appreciate your company, and feel free to let me know if there's anything that you would like for me to talk about, discuss and opine on. Most of you know that my background is in geopolitics, geoeconomics, U.S. affairs, foreign affairs, economic development and foreign engagement. So those are the things that I tend to opine on and share with the public. But with this said, thanks for joining me once again and letting me know your thoughts and opinions, and for the crazy stickers that y'all are putting up there, and also the good stickers that I like and will be saving on my messages here. All right, folks, so let's see what else is going on. I'm halfway around the neighborhood where I normally walk and enjoy the scenery. So we're gonna go through the forest area and over the little tiny bridge that has tons of snapping turtles underneath it. I mean, hopefully y'all get to see those turtles. It's pretty interesting that they are all congregating under that bridge, because most of the time they're out and about and floating away from the bridge. But this time, I don't know, maybe there's food under the bridge or whatever, but they've been congregating under the bridge the last couple of months that I noticed. So maybe you'll see some of them today. They weren't there the last time. It was kind of muddy and late in the evening, so I wasn't able to show the snapping turtles that are about the same size as a plate, a full size plate, dish plate, all right, that people eat on. So these turtles are humongous. So they've been there for ages, just because how they managed to grow that big. I think, at least, or unless it's just their species that grows that big, I don't know. But these ones that I'm about to show you under the bridge are humongous. So that's pretty much my life here in America. I know some people in the Philippines and other parts of Europe have wanted me to share my life in the US when I'm here, and just kind of see what it's like to be living in the US, because many other people from overseas can't just come here and live here, and vice versa. Many Americans just doesn't have the same opportunities to live overseas. But I do want to emphasize that I support living abroad, at least for a short period of time, whatever part of the world you're in. Make sure to experience other cultures, other societies, just for a couple of months, 6 months to a year. I wouldn't recommend living abroad forever, whatever part of the world you're located, maybe from Europe, Africa, Asia, the US. I would support and promote living abroad for shorter periods of time. That will give you a perspective of quality of life, culture, mindsets, traditions, religions abroad. It's always good to have some sort of a reference, okay? Don't be stuck on stupid. Many people in this country are stuck on stupid because they don't have any other references, okay? They just basically do whatever they've been doing forever, and that's it. And that's pretty much, similar to any other countries. People in those countries don't have a reference. So it's best if we have a reference of other cultures, societies, and people. With that said, folks, thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time. And my name again is Al Mina. I'm the concept author and Face Economics, the utilization of the social media environment and economic development. So I'm going to show you the bridge that we're about to go and cross. So you can see it. It's a little tiny bridge. Okay, it leads up into the park. When I was a kid, I didn't even know that this bridge existed, okay? I used to go drive my bike up here, but I had no idea that this bridge was even here. Or maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But I just found out about it last year. But anyway, so this is the bridge. And let's see if we can find some turtles. Okay, I'm gonna hold on to my tripod because for some reason it broke on me, and now I have to re-glue it. Oh, there's a turtle. Okay. Or is it a turtle? No, it's not a turtle. Oh, shoot. Turtles, where are you at? So they normally come up here. Gonna need to make sure that my phone doesn't go overboard here. But yeah, no turtles. They used to be up here. I don't know what's going on with these turtles. They're around when you least expect for them to be around, and when you're trying to spot them, they're nowhere to be found. Luckily, you see these little tiny houses. They're nice houses. They're right by the creek. The only challenge, I guess, is if it's mosquito season. That'll be harder to deal with the mosquitoes when you're close to a stagnant body of water. But it is what it is. Anyway, no turtles today again. All right, well, better luck next time. Well, at least I can see some of you guys. Kason Neski. All right. I don't know what these stickers that you're posting up are for. Robert. Hey, Robert. Kason Neski. Yeah, all right. Thanks for these stickers that you posted. Anyway, folks, we're in a really nice under the canopy section of the park. Okay, so there's breeze and it's not so warm and muggy. So as y'all can see, I don't know if you can see it, but my head here is full of sweat, and whatever left of my hair is soaking wet. Anyway, yeah, so let's see, what else can we talk about? Oh, my last interview on Lee Camp's show, I talked about Gonzalo Lira. So for some of you guys that doesn't know who Gonzalo Lira is, he was that marginalized Hispanic American who married a Ukrainian lady and ended up living in Kiev. He's a former YouTuber, blogger, author, journalist that basically was piggybacking off of the news on Ukraine, okay, based off of what's happening in Ukraine. Let me sit over here for a little bit under the canopy and try to get all this sweat on my head to disappear because I'm soaking wet right now. I'm gonna just try to stay here under the canopy for now. So basically, Lyra was reporting on the overall case within, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And so basically, he was, basically piggybacking off of everybody else's news and sharing content on his YouTube channel, just like everybody else in Ukraine and outside of Ukraine, talking about the conflict. All right, folks. And for some odd reason, he was singled out, basically off of the same reporting material that everybody else was reporting on, just because he was, I guess, an English speaker or a Hispanic American or whatever, marginalized person. I don't know what the cause is, because there wasn't really a clear charge regarding his arrest. People are saying that, he was working for the Russians. I mean, how can you do, I simply don't even understand those kinds of accusations. So is it, anybody can work with anybody around the world. Does it mean that they're operating against other countries or other, people? I mean, that's really absurd to even just say, oh, well, they're a part of, a conspiracy with the Russians and blah, 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 blah. Anybody can work with anyone, right? You don't have to, pick and choose. Just because you're working with somebody from a country that people might not like or understand doesn't mean that you're out to destroy other countries. So to me, when I was reviewing the case, because I actually started podcasting on his case a long, long time ago, back in 2022 when I first heard about it, just because it was one of the most confusing case that I've heard and have been monitoring. Okay, because most of my background is in Eastern Europe, right? I served in the U.S. Peace Corps under the U.S. Embassy mission in, Romania. So I have a lot of vested interest in that region to be, productive and safe and, peaceful. So I started monitoring this case with Gonzalo Lyra. And till to this day, I'm still baffled by what's happened to him, because there's a lot of disjointed material that's been put out there regarding his, confinement, extortion, torture, according to him, everything that he mentioned on his YouTube channel. So, Anyway, I did the interview on Lee Camp's show. And Lee Camp is, he's mostly an independent journalist, quasi-comedian, advocate, and activist. And he tends to be more in the middle rather than taking sides. But I'm glad that he, agreed to have this discussion with me regarding Lyra's case, even though, Gonzalo Lyra, according to some people, he tends to be more in the conservative side of things. Like he tends to be, more Republican in many of his talks on his YouTube channel. But regardless of party, everything else is irrelevant in my opinion. All right, I don't care what party you belong to. I really don't care what your political position is. I care about human rights, civil rights, protecting people. Okay, protecting people's lives, freedom of speech, democracy, the preservation of democracy. Those are the pillars of society. Okay, if you basically disengage in those, overall prerequisites of a civilized society, then you won't have a country. Okay, folks. So, anyway, I did the interview with Lee Camp, and we managed to agree. Oddly enough, that we agreed that, Gonzalo Lyra's case is one of those smoke and mirror weird case. Okay. And so, just a few days ago, come across a news report saying that there are some people in Ukraine now that are advocating for a formal investigation, because that's what we basically started in back in January, to have the Trump administration conduct a formal investigation on the death, torture, and extortion of Gonzalo Lira in Ukraine. So I guess the opposition party in Ukraine have decided, or maybe some of them got word that we started this petition, and now they're basically jumping on board, and they're using our petition as a way to oppose the Zelensky regime. Okay, and as you all know, during the Democratic administration, this case was pretty much silenced. You know, they don't want this case to make it to public attention in the US and overseas, mainly because it will basically disrupt the narrative of Ukraine being a civilized democratic society. Okay, and that's how they build up their case regarding going against, you know, the quote unquote, they said it's unprovoked war with the Russians, but in all reality, the Ukrainians were the ones to pull the trigger first back in 2021. They were the ones that were provoking conflict with the Russians in the territories that sided with the Russians, okay, during the 2014 voting, what's I'm gonna call it, they had a referendum, that's the word I'm looking for. They had a referendum, and they voted to side with the Russians because the Russian economy is much stronger than the Ukrainian economy. Many of the Tartars and many of the people that are within the confines of the borders between Ukraine and Russia are from people group that originated from Russia, and many of those territories were formerly Russian territories too. If you go back, you know, hundreds of years ago in their history. Anyway, so what I was gonna say is that there's this push for an investigation to happen in Ukraine now on behalf of Gonzalo Lira. I don't know if that's gonna get off the ground, but I, as the person who started the petition, would like to see it more talked about in the US, okay? Because I believe, you know, if we continue to discuss the issue and the case, that would give most Americans, you know, some sort of a confidence in this new government, in the Trump administration, knowing that we're going to be protected and our interests will be preserved abroad. Because technically, if you have diplomatic ties with a country, your citizens are supposed to be protected. Okay, that's the, you know, overall prerequisites of these diplomatic engagements. Okay, folks, so yeah, I hope the national news would finally cover his case, because they silenced his case big time, you know, throughout the Biden administration for, you know, 4 years almost. Anyway, yeah, so that's the overall nature of Mr. Lira's predicament in Ukraine. He basically was singled out and made an example of, unfortunately, for wanting to just escalate the war between Russia and Ukraine. You know, his children are half Ukrainians, half Americans. They're of Hispanic background, because he's of Hispanic background, marginalized may that be. But yeah, he didn't want to take sides. He just wanted to make sure that his children and wife or ex-wife will be safe. Why would you take sides when your loved ones could get implicated over a war that shouldn't even happen? Anyway, thanks for joining me. It's good walking with you. I'm all soaking wet now. But I'm glad that we managed to connect today on this Friday afternoon. It's still warm. Actually, it's been warm. Well, it wasn't as warm, but it started to warm up back on Wednesday. But today's definitely one of the hotter days. I'm sweating, but it's not as dry and humid, so it's still pretty pleasant walk, other than the sweat. Anyway, thanks for joining me. So, moving on from Gonzalo Lira's case, we'll talk about what else. The upcoming governor's election. There's a governor's election taking place in November, so that's in October, November, in less than 2 months, or approximately 2 months, I guess. And funny enough, both candidates are female. One is of Jamaican background, and the other one is of, Northern Virginia privileged background. Very well connected person. So, the other candidate is from an legal immigrant Jamaican background who served in the military. And so, that's the overall situation. So I'm in front of the skateboard park here, and I'm just watching some of these kids. When I was growing up, they didn't have the concrete skate park here. It was mostly one of those wooden ramps that they put up there. The city had put up for skateboarders so that they won't try to destroy some of the buildings, especially the steps and railings of various buildings. So they put up this skateboard park. Anyway, so in Virginia, it tends to be, somewhat of a unpredictable state. I don't think the state in itself have been, 100% blue or 100% red throughout the years, which I guess it's a good thing, because it's never a predictable situation. But I really don't want to go to a bathroom where there's women in it, and I don't want my children, if I ever had children, to compete with the opposite sex. All right, folks, and I don't want illegal immigrants floating around the streets that I don't know what country they're from and how they managed to get here and what they're doing here and where they reside, because that would be a scary situation all over again. And there's a lot of stuff that I'm not in favor of if the same conditions from the past administration starts to manifest itself again in the state of Virginia, the state that I run for as a U.S. Senate candidate back in 2020. And I've got a whole story for you also regarding my experiences back in 2020 as a candidate, a no-name candidate, independent candidate without any funds. But anyway, let's keep on talking as far as the November gubernatorial election. Okay, so most of you understand that politics is never a consistent subject. It's never, a cookie cutter type of situation, because you have to adjust and you have to maneuver around, social norms and the evolution of the marketplace and things that are never consistent. I understand that. What I don't get is when you go through extremes that basically happens instantly, and those activities that so mainly alienates the rest of the population, majority of the population, I should say, not the rest, but majority of the population, they get alienated. Now, if you have a populations that are well educated and professionals, then you don't want to disrupt that kind of situation. But if you have a population that is not well educated and they're operating as hoodlums and ragrats and criminals, gangsters, then you definitely want to disrupt that. You want to change that kind of behavior. So that's the overall situation as far as what we're trying to basically endorse, okay, in terms of the politics, state politics in the state of Virginia. So to me, all right, folks, if you're in favor of, you know, criminal activities and unproductive and unpeaceful society, then go somewhere else. But if you want a stable, peaceful, and criminal-free environment to live in and have your children grow up in, then stay in the state of Virginia. There are tons of states out there like California and other states that have always been a blue state that are going through major social issues. Then they can, you know, move to those states. Anyway, I just thought I'd, you know, kind of opine on this because politics is always going to be a sensitive issue. You know, there's this saying when you're around family gathered at the table that you don't talk about religion or politics or anything else that could be, you know, an emotional aggravator. So, but given that most of what I do is dissect, you know, information that I come across and use that as, you know, some sort of a subject to reflect on. I'm not, you know, telling you guys what to do. You think for yourselves. All I'm saying is that people should be exposed to both sides of the stories. You know, the narrative of the powerful elites where they are silencing people and making sure that the ones that are powerless, voiceless, marginalized, and outnumbered doesn't get the opportunity to connect with the public shouldn't be, you know, promoted and supported. Look, I've been on the receiving end of, you know, being silenced, being, you know, overly muscled online where people can't get access to my content. All right, folks. And it's not a great situation, and I don't think it's the right type of social architecturing that should happen in America. Because when you silence the opposition, when you silence the voice of those that typically don't have a lot of power and authority, it becomes authoritarian society, like the communist societies and dictatorial societies of the world. They silence dissent, and they silence those that are that tends to be of an influence in society. Okay, unfortunately, I've dealt with it. I've been ostracized, silenced, taken to the woodshed and beaten up big time for sharing my thoughts with the public. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, somebody's gonna do it, and to be honest, I'm not really all that scared. I know what I'm doing is for the best of our population, for the best of our society. On top of, for people around the world to support and mimic in the preservation of their democracy and human rights, civil rights, and the freedom of speech exercised in their countries and society. Okay, folks. So that's why I do this. If you agree with me, please support us. Let me know if you're in agreement with me. I think it'll be very much appreciated if you guys were to tell us how you see our content, and by supporting us and donating to us, that means a lot. Okay, it gives us the ability to continue to do what we're doing. Anyway, yeah. So my name again is Al Mina. I'm the concept author of Faceconomics, the illustration of the social media platform in economic development worldwide. Thank you for joining me today, whatever part of the world you guys are located. And feel free to drop us a line, a quick comment, message me if there's anything that you would like for me to talk about. We're still in the phase of growing our channel. Granted, we have been silenced many times, and I think YouTube and Facebook and all of these pro-democrat platforms are making sure that those that doesn't follow their demand, their narrative, are not able to gain access to the public. And that's just the kind of evil world we live in, folks. The elites wants to basically manage and dictate content. Okay, so there's no meeting of the minds anymore. There is no dissent. There is no objective analysis of world affairs, economic development, politics, the social discourse. All that's been basically silenced by all these stupid idiots that wants to dictate to the world and to the public in America how to think. Basically they want to think for us. They don't want us to use our brains. They want to think for us, and then they can go fuck themselves. To me, I didn't get an education just to be operating like a sheep, where I can't use my free judgment. I can't share my voice, can't share my opinion. Granted, I've been marginalized in this country quite a bit. As many of you guys are aware, if you were to Google my name and everything that I've gone through, you've seen all the bull crap that I had to deal with. Special racism, and workplace discrimination. Institutional racism is pretty big in America. And, my civil and human rights violated, and people are just not even taking that kind of stuff seriously because it didn't happen to them yet. Eventually, when all the crap that I had to deal with ends up happening to those people, then you would know what it's like to live in my shoes. With that said, folks, thanks for joining me. I appreciate your time. Enjoy your Friday morning, evening, afternoon, whatever part of the world you're located. Until we meet again, take care. Bye-bye.